In this video, we'll go over the new firmware features 3.1 on the Synthstrom Deluge. According to the beta notes, they were planning on releasing a little later in the year, but due to the public health crisis, they decided to release a little early and work on the other features for later on. Before we get into the main features that I would normally use, I want to mention the default resolution for new songs is 384th notes. And it can be set even higher without using up any more CPU power. So if you go to settings, just hold down shift, push down the knob. You want to set it to default. And then we're going to turn to resolution. The max is 6,144th notes. Please note, though, that this function is not activated until you start making new songs. Also, now you can connect a USB hub to the Deluge and have it host, so you can now plug in multiple USB MIDI devices. It can now send MIDI to hosted USB MIDI, whereas before you could only receive. The jitter or timing errors have been drastically reduced, especially during high CPU load. You can now change the colors of these mute pads. So it's active, muted, and then there's solo. And all of those colors now we can change. So let's go to settings. Then we're going to go to pads right here. Now we're going to go to color. For example, we have all these are stopped. So I'm going to choose stop. And right now it's red. We can change it to any color on the list here. I'm actually just going to change it back to red because this is what I've been used to for a long time. I might change the colors later on, but that's how that works. Just wanted to mention, when you're deep in the menu like this, you just can press over here and it'll exit right out instead of having to press back a bunch of times. You can now mute or unmute rows of a kit while using the stutter effects. So if we have we'll just do a real quick beat here. And then we have the stutter going. Oops, I have to put it on effect entire stutter. I can actually mute, unmute tracks, so then when it starts up again, it'll just play the kick drum now, or something like that. So let's say we had these all unmuted. It's a bad beat, but let's say we just wanted it on the hi-hats. So while it's doing that, I can mute the other things and then just mute that out. So here's the two features that add a lot of fun here. This is the ones that I really like. The first one is note nudge. So let's just make a really standard beat. Put a lot of hi-hat in there. So this is sending right now through, this is a MIDI kit, so I send it to my circuit. Note that if I use a different kit, these functions are also going to work on MIDI as well as audio samples. So this one, the first one we're going to look over is note nudge. So we just have a standard beat here. Let's say I want this to be offbeat somewhat. So you just hold down the left right knob and turn it, and you'll see it's moving, and it's moving by micro steps. So if I go to 12, we see it's in the next pad. If we do it anywhere else in between, we'll see it's white because we can't really see exactly where it starts because it's so precise. So brought it back to 0, and there we are. So again, if you want to go all the way over to the next step, we're in 16th view. We have to move it 12. You can get used to it. Just have to push it down a little differently if you want to make bigger changes. But there it is. We can now offset notes if we want to. So maybe we'll offset all these. Yeah, that sounds like a mess. Let's undo all that. Undo. right, we're back at the normal beat. If there's a note on the side of the screen and we do it, you can see it moves it right back. And I can press anywhere on that. So if it's in a tail, I can press on that as well. Notice if I move it, say, to the left or the right, and we're in this zoom, it looks like it's overwriting it. But if we zoom in, we can see that it has moved in on that grid area. So if I zoom out, you'll see it just shows it's like, I would call that a note cluster. So I'm just erasing all that and just starting fresh. So what I want to do now is show there's note repeat. So let's say I want this to play 2 times, and what note repeat does is it divides this pad here. So I'm holding it down, hold down, up, down knob, turn that, you'll see a number go up. It also just turned white. So if I zoom in, you can see it's 2 notes. So let's make that 4. So I'm going to hold it down, bring that to 4, zoom in. Now we can see there's 4. I went way more in the zoom here. If I want to erase, I just press it and start fresh. So it's going to take the note and divide it by whatever number we see up here. Now what I can do is just play the beat. And let's say we want to have like this go 4 times. Maybe right here we'll do 3 times, 2, and go all the way up to 12. Another thing we can note is on these clusters, we can also change like the volume of all of them, just holding down the cluster and bringing the volume. Or since we're in MIDI, it's turning down the velocity. Also, if let's say I want this cluster of notes to only do 2 of 2 passes, you know, this is conditional. So every 2 times it goes through, it's going to play that. And now it's not going to play it.